Hello everyone, good day to you, good evening should I say. Okay, today's video is probably going to be maybe a little bit of a ramble, I'm not sure. I'm actually going to carve whilst I do this. Maybe I won't actually, because you can't necessarily see what I'm doing anyway. I'm working on a big lefty ladle. Not many of them around. So today I thought I'd talk about, well, there was a question that I had a while ago. What do you think has changed in the spoon carving world? If it's a world, I don't know. It's a little community, I would say, a very niche community. What do I think has changed from when, I guess? You know, when do I think it started changing? I think one thing that has changed for the good is a lot of younger people who come maybe more from a design background coming in, and I think bringing in a kind of a cleaner, more beautiful, pleasing aesthetic. I guess what I originally saw kind of 12, 13 years ago was a lot of middle-aged men just putting their work out, doing their best, you know, not really caring about necessarily what it looked like for whatever reason. And yet those videos were really valuable, for sure. They really helped me in the early days. And so now there's a lot of focus on upping the quality, I guess, of the images. And I would say that maybe one thing that perhaps hasn't come along with that is actually the quality of the work. I see a lot of really well finished spoons in particular, maybe even bowls as well. They're really well finished, but I would say that there's something lacking, and I think it's maybe a creative element, and it's bringing all things together. I'm not trying to say that I'm perfect, I'm trying to say that this is just what I see, and it's something that I try and focus on. Is you can get something super smooth with a knife, that's wonderful, and actually the way that I kind of compare it to would be when I did fine art. I learned all the rules of how to draw perfectly, you know, as in figuratively, learning all the rules, learning how to record it perfectly, you know, photorealistically. And that was great up to a certain point, and then after a while, for me, that gets kind of boring, obvious, tedious, and actually somewhat easy, because you're just given the rules of how to do it, you know. You just have to put the work in and practice. Now I think it gets really fun and interesting and creative and hard when you begin to deviate from that, and you decide to maybe break some rules and bend some rules, and maybe even ignore some rules, and really test new areas. And it's something that I would say I kind of flirt with that a little bit. Sometimes I bring it back, sometimes I'll go off piste, and I guess not everyone's seen everything I've made, so sometimes there's things that are really out there and I just kind of don't share for whatever reason. Perhaps I should share. What do you think? Should I share those really wacky ones? And maybe what I see, or what I believe I see, is a lot of kudos being paid to, you know, the equivalent in the spoon carving world is the photorealistic stuff, like, oh, look at that, super smooth, and less so for the creative people doing something a bit more off-piste, like myself. Maybe this is part of me moaning a little bit that, hey, I'm trying to do something like more interesting. And yeah, if that's what people like, that's what people like, and I have to just accept that and continue to just plough my furrow and just say, no, this is what I like doing. I'm gonna swim in this direction and do my best there, because it actually brings me a lot of joy, you know, not kind of following the herd. What else? I've written some things down. Yeah, and then okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is, so Instagram isn't working for me anymore. You know, I guess there was a heyday for a while where I remember being able to sell things within a day fairly easily. Granted, they were cheaper. I do believe my prices now reflect my quality. If anything, they're a little low. However, things don't sell, so what can you do? Yeah, Instagram isn't working, and I guess that's one of the reasons why coming here to YouTube and seeing what I can do, pushing myself a bit, because in the beginning, spoon carving was definitely pushing myself. I had to practice a lot and really put a lot of effort in. And this is really outside of my comfort zone in many, many ways, because I am far from a techie person. I'm an analog creative through and through. And that means that when it comes to digital stuff, when it comes to editing and being in front of a computer, doesn't bring me joy. Really, I struggle with it. It kind of gets me frustrated very quickly. So I'm going to be reaching out to some people to try and help me out here. However, I'm hoping that YouTube maybe can be a bit more expansive. You know, I'm not the best at taking pictures. I'm not the best at marketing myself, for several reasons. One, there's suffering with depression and anxiety. Often there's a lot of fear that comes up of being rejected ultimately. That's kind of a core wound in my childhood of, I'm going to put something out there that I think is really brilliant, and then it's just going to die flat. You know, like on my Instagram, I put these balancing bears, and I thought, wow, these look really beautiful, they're really sweet, good price point, and they didn't sell. And then I started to think, what can I do? What do I have to do differently? It's one of those things where I think I know what I need to do differently, and for some reason there's a block, there's a fear. And I'm really curious if anyone else experiences this, and I'm really, really curious as to where you think is the right place to be, the place to show, and the thing to be doing. You're like, because I really long for more of a community, and that's something that, again, I really hope that this YouTube challenge is going to start bringing. I know that I need the quality of video up, I know I need the quality of sound up. However, first I need to sell some things to make some money. And I'm often very curious as to why things don't sell, you know, when you think they're, this is amazing. Yeah, it's a curious world, and I know that sometimes people just don't have the money for it. Why do you think things don't sell? Not necessarily just to do with me. It's something that I really crave, actually, is more feedback, because in fine art, definitely there was a great opportunity for feedback. And even if someone gives you feedback because I've asked for it, they say, I don't like it, I think it's really bad, or I just don't think it's very good. Now, through a lot of experience, I can take that on board, and I can think to myself, is there any validity to what they say? Maybe I should think about that, actually, and see for myself. If there's some truth in it, then I want to grow, and I want to change, and I want to have humility to be able to do that. I think, what else? I think it's kind of interesting, actually, for me to share the truth of what's really happening. You know, a lot of times myself, and I do believe I can kind of see it, that we might want to put on a slick kind of maybe facade or project something that isn't quite true. And I know that there's a fine line between just sharing everything and there's parts of my life that I choose to keep private, and at the same time I really strongly believe in sharing more truth and vulnerability will mean that other people can see that, actually other people struggle, they don't have it all together. Yeah. And even on this channel, you know, I'm super interested in why people don't comment more. You know, I often look at my own behaviour and think, why didn't I comment on there? I've got some things to say. Why didn't I comment on there? And maybe it's because we don't believe that our words have any weight, or you know, or are worth anything. I'm not sure. You know, these are kind of questions that rattle around inside my head. I will say this just to finish. I found a way to have it so I can just flick to the screen quickly to see if it's still recording everything. I've got the screen there and I've just flipped it upside down so it's not a kind of a peacock reflection. Yeah, so I think small little steps, that's what I'm doing my best to accept. And yeah, I'm really curious of selling things, you know, selling things online. You know, I don't really do much with my website. I could definitely do more with that. Why aren't I doing more to do with that? I'm not really sure. Yeah, there's something about drive that, you know, I have some envy of other people, and this is an interesting topic in itself. Is envy for me is when I see someone else, they can be a friend or someone else, and I think, oh man, I really wish I was there in that kind of place doing that thing. Whereas jealousy, I believe, is the darker version of envy, where it says, oh, I wish I was there, oh, and I wish you didn't have what you had, it's not fair, you know, oh, why do you have that, I wish you didn't have that. So that's kind of something that I've thought about before, is the difference between envy and jealousy. Yeah, I think these are all interesting topics to talk about, and I guess at the moment, so far, this 30-day challenge is about talking to the camera, so there's not much of me doing filming work or anything like that. But that will be coming in the future. And you can call me out if in a few weeks' time you don't see anything. Call me out and say, hey, you said that shit, where is that? Okay, I think that's enough rambling for now. I really appreciate anyone who has watched up until this point, and I really appreciate anyone who comments. I hope you're doing good, I hope you're feeling well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next.